Welcome to day 250, oh boy, of the 300 movie challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of March 2015, which was Cinderella.
So, me and Mai have seen this together in theaters, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don's mom has seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of live action remakes, okay, so Maleficent, it did its own take on the story. It wasn't a live action remake of Sleeping Beauty, right?
Yeah.
So
it was like AU.
yeah,
basically.
so for that, that's kind of its own thing. I kind of give it a pass. Now,
Yeah, basically, yeah.
so I don't really have I don't have an inherent problem with the live action remake-ness of that movie. Whereas, like, Lion King, like, that's, going to be coming out, for example, I have more of a problem with that because we don't know this because it hasn't come out yet, but it seems like it's probably going to be the same story, and again, it only came out, like, 25 years prior. That's not,
I think also
right?
the thing with Lion King is the fact that it's not even real animals, it's just CGI animals. And
Yeah.
it's like...
Yeah.
I don't know. But, okay.
Even if it was real animals, I feel like it's like...
That's odd.
Yeah, that's just really strange.
But, so, this movie, though, first of all, it's a remake of Cinderella, which is a much older movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing. And the other thing is, they do... Again, the plot is the same. The overall plot's the same, but they do change a decent amount of details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
like, for instance... Where? Go.
well, so I'm just saying, for an actual live-action Disney remake, I think this was a decent option for what to go for in just pure concept-wise.
It's
So-
kind of in the middle.
Yeah. So I don't, like, have an immediate, like, oh my god, they remade this. I don't have that kind of reaction to it. In terms of the changes themselves, to me, it's okay. For one, I honestly don't remember the original movie that much, so I might be wrong in some of this when I'm kind of going into. But like, to me, the changes are very split. Some of them I do think are for the better. Some of them I think are for the worse. And so, I did rank it in a spot. I'm still kind of not sure if that's where I want to put it, like, permanently. But I guess, should we just kind of, like, try to think of the changes and try to think if we think they're better or worse?
Yeah, I think that's a good...
That's the best option, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um...
Well, okay, so first, Cinderella, just in general.
Yeah, has a lot of, a lot more screen time and
Yeah,
stuff.
well, at first, well, I don't know if it's first the right word, but at the beginning of the movie, I was like, oh, they're making her be like the ultra perfect person. Right? Like, she's overtly nice to everything, she's overly whimsical or whatever, and like everything seems perfect and amazing, and she's this perfect angel child or whatever, right? And I can't say that exactly went away, but they kind of did something with it that was actually kind of interesting, where what they did with Lady Tremaine is that she kind of used her super nice, overly trusting personality to kind of manipulate her.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
I've
that
heard
was
that
actually
many.
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I just wish they did more of that. Because there, in terms of like actual, time with Cinderella in the house, kind of with them, there's really not that much of it in this movie.
Right.
Maybe only, like, maybe as little as like a quarter of the movie is kind of about that. And I wish, because, like, I noticed, for example, the ball, like, starts, like, halfway into the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really wish that the first half of this was longer. Because it would have built up that... Again, I like the manipulation idea of it, but they really needed to build it up more, because I felt like how they showed it... It's kind of the same problem with the Maleficent movie, where it's like, the pieces were there, but you didn't develop them enough as you should.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was kind of one thing that was like bothering me a bit, and then yeah, so that's the main thing. I wish they kind of like, I know this sounds kind of morbid, but like, I wish they kind of broke her more, because like, I mean, okay, she definitely gets upset and whatever with things, but I feel like, again, there should have been more. I didn't feel like she was like truly like beaten down and desperate. I didn't quite feel that.
The dress scene was very like toned down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, well, not only that, like, she just like leaves the house to like do errands and like talks to other people.
Yeah.
And like,
she's not as isolated as she was.
yeah, I know. I
here.
get the idea where it's like this is I see how they're kind of linking this to like mental like abuse, like an abusive relationship kind of thing. So I get that, and where so it's like, oh well, why don't you just leave? You know what I mean? So I get that aspect of it, but I feel like they should have done more with it, and they should have spent more time on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, conversely, I like that they expand the Prince and the King a little bit more.
Yeah.
I agree with that, definitely, because in the original, the first time you see the prince is at the ball.
Yeah.
But here you actually see him, and you see the fact that they actually met previously also.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And
previous to the ball, and it gave her more of a reason to go to the ball also.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, and granted, they still have the whole like, oh, you know, they love at first sight, they're gonna want to marry immediately. So, but they kind of have to do that because of the story, right?
Yeah.
But given that like mold, they actually do something that's kind of makes sense, where it's like basically he is going to be married to someone else unless he picks her, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that kind of adds to like why they're so quick about this, right? So that kind of adds to that. I like the small thing where like in the original it was kind of like, you know, all her stuff disappeared when midnight came or whatever, except the glass slippers didn't. So it's like, wait, why did those stay, right? But here, if you notice, the fairy godmother made the glass slippers out of nothing. She didn't transform something into the glass slippers.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore it makes sense why they would stay behind. So like I'm like, okay, that again, it's a little thing that actually helps with that. At the same time though, the fact that they turned the fairy godmother into like kind of like a comedy thing, that just felt kind of tonally weird.
Especially since overall the movie's not very comedic.
No. It's kind of melancholy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
very
I
much
feel
like
that scene of his kind of like, especially since it was after like a really terrible scene too, where they ripped up her dress and stuff.
yeah.
It just seemed kind of awkward.
Yeah, and then
I mean, I think it would have been worse if they actually like went through with the original scene where they like completely ripped it up instead of just like one sleeve.
yeah.
But they really should have just made the fairy godmother, if they didn't want to have the exact same approach. I like the idea that she appeared as like a hag at first, and she like Cinderella had to earn her magic, but they should have just kept her as like the not comedic relief character, but more like a let me help you and get to this point and inspire you, instead of be like you're like best girlfriend.
It's like, that's not a mother per se.
Yeah.
No, she just needs a best girlfriend. She needs guidance.
Yeah. Or again, it's the fairy godmother, not the fairy weird aunt.
Yeah.
Very weird. Yes.
And then what was it? Oh, and then when she's like with the transformations of the things, like especially like, you know, the mice horse and the goose thing, and like that, like those like halfway transformations with the CGI looked like super creepy.
Oh my god.
So, and
I
actually,
forgot about how terrifying those were.
yeah, and like, I think I know that this is just kind of because that this is live action, so I can kind of see that like people would say this is not a fair complaint, but I really think that because the original was animated, it had it was really, well, easy is not the right word, but it had much more control over the lighting and the colors.
That's
Right.
true, yeah.
And that's lost here.
Yeah.
Because they try to like design things in, you know, ways that would work. But for example, honestly, I feel like a lot of this movie is kind of like dim in terms of the lighting.
Yeah.
There's not really any like shots like even like some of the nicer shots, you don't really feel like these are magic. This is a magical place or anything, right? It's just like, okay, yeah, it's kind of a nice place, and it's like, again, I don't really know what you would do because again, it's live action, so.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have maybe color corrected it because they color correct like a bunch of movies to make them more dim. So I imagine they can make it a little bit more vivid. Too,
I guess,
right?
but I just felt like
You know, yeah.
the colors should have been better. That said, again, on the other hand, her dress was like too blue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was.
It's like they put all of the color in the dress.
Actually, fun fact about the dress. Did
Oh,
you
yeah.
know that there's LED lights in it?
Oh Jesus!
Oh, is that why it's so
No
bright?
wonder.
It's probably why it's so bright.
That's
It's
They
like
put LED. They, I think, had like many strings of LED lights
Jesus.
like strung inside the dress and stuff to
Oh.
give the glowy
Yeah.
magical
Well,
effect.
because I'm like when she first like transforms with the dress, I'm like, holy shit, she's like turning into Rosalina, like from Mario Galaxy. I'm like, Jesus Christ, fucking space princess. But yeah, and then and also the whole angle with Lady Tremaine where like she has a quote unquote reason, which is like kind of vague, but it's like it's not just like I hate you, man, right? It's like there's a little bit more to that, and it's like it's interesting. I don't know if I like it more or less because I think the original was just kind of just like just a straight
she
up
was just kind of bitch.
she's just
Yeah.
straight up asshole, but like it was kind of like she's such an asshole. It's like kind of cool that she's
Yeah.
such an asshole. Where this it's not really like that. So it's like, is it better? I don't know.
I mean, I guess it's kind of they're trying to take the realism
Yeah.
aspect of it, but I think I
Yeah.
do prefer the just straight up asshole Lady Tremaine where she
Yeah.
has no reason. She's just a bitch.
Yeah.
I also found it kind of like if we went through the movie where the ball actually was like near the climax and everything, then we wouldn't have needed the part where it was like they were actually conspiring with like the advisor guy or whatever.
Yeah, that felt kind of strange.
Oh yeah, that was kind of a weird, awkward point.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know if that's necessary considering the fact that it's already a humongous struggle to go around asking women to try on a shoe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this I mean, okay, for me also this is kind of hard to this is hard for me to talk about for a couple of reasons. One, I don't really remember the original movie, so I can't really say like, "Oh, I liked this part but not, in that movie but not in this," right? I know I saw the original, but I was like, a young kid. I don't really remember it. The other thing that's hard is just this movie, the original and this one are just not made for me.
Yeah.
Right, so it's kind of like how I felt like with Enchanted, kind of, where like, that with that aspect. And for here though, there are things where I can say, okay, this is interesting. This is a little bit of a thing that pulls it down. So it's like, but ultimately, when I really step back and think about like, do I like this? And it's like, and it's kind of a hard question. I ultimately did decide to put this near the bottom of the enjoy category. I could see someone liking this a decent amount. Maybe just some things like I think they're kind of problems they don't bother them and they can get into the story and they like this kind of story. I can't really see anyone like really disliking this because there isn't really anything. Even like if some of the changes bother you, I think there should be others that like balance it out. And even the ones that do, they're not like horrible changes or anything. So I don't know. I ended up putting it there. So
I think I have to move my ranking. But I think for me, I mean, honestly, even though the fact it was technically made for me and everything, even when I was a kid, I disliked the movie Cinderella.
Oh yeah, the original.
Yeah, I disliked the original. So going into this, I was kind of like a little tentative when I first watched it. I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this because I didn't really like the original. But I do like it more than the original
Yeah.
in terms of, because I think I haven't watched the original in a very long time. I just remember disliking it for one reason or another. But yeah, I think I mean, I was fine rewatching it, so.
Yeah, it has some interesting concepts. I think it's definitely a little bit more developed than Maleficent was because at least you can latch on to the prince and you feel a bit more sympathy for Cinderella herself.
Yeah, I have this a bit above Maleficent. Ended up putting like in the upper part of mixed, so this is lower part of enjoy for me. But
yeah. I think the only thing I wanted them to keep from the original is Lady Tremaine, though, because I have this weird thing for like the older villains where I thought they were a little bit more interesting just because they were so simple.
Yeah,
like they were assholes.
No, this is a very common thing people talk about with Disney about how like their recent like more modern villains are not very good, and part
like the twist one.
Well, yeah, it's either the twist ones or it's the ones again they try to make like relatable or something.
Yeah.
They don't really have like the complete asshole villains anymore. So yeah, again, I don't know. To me, I mean, it depends on the story in terms of like how effective a villain is, right? So, for example, like the first.
And in some cases, like the villain you're not supposed to take seriously too much can be a good villain too.
Yeah, well, so I'm thinking like the big comparison I would say is the first Iron Man movie, right? The main villain of that is like, who cares, right? Not interesting.
Yeah.
It's still a good movie, because the movie is not about the villain; it's about Tony Stark, right?
Yeah.
Whereas conversely, The Dark Knight has great villains, and that works really well because the focus is on the villains,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
If you had The Dark Knight, but you thought the Joker just like sucked, like God, that movie would be so disappointing. But if you like, you know, so yeah, it's just Lady Tremaine in this movie is not as much of okay. Her focus is more so in terms of how she impacts Cinderella, right? Cinderella's the focus in terms of what she goes through with her character, and so that's kind of more the focus, and so that hence the manipulation part of it. It works for what this is going for.
Yeah.
So is that better? It depends on the movie, right? I think pure asshole Lady Tremaine in this setting might not work as well, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So it's a little bit up in the air, but I think from what I know, and again I don't know this like super well, but I think most people prefer the original, but for these, but I don't think this is one of those where like, because I'm pretty sure like for example the Beauty and the Beast remake, like pretty much everyone is like, yeah, the original's better, right? I think this is a little bit more of a mix, because again they do kind of emphasize different things, so yeah. So overall, let me put it, this definitely could have been a lot worse. So
yeah. I think they kind of hit the right spot in the middle of like they remade it, but they also added things to help enhance the original story. So this is so simple. So you might want to fill out a couple of minutes, you know.
I mean, compared to the other like what was the first live action remake we saw was
Alice in Wonderland,
which was terrible. That was utterly dismal.
That is the worst movie.
Then Maleficent, we talked about it, everything, in which it was kind of a mixed kind of bag and stuff. Then here, I think this is like
overall like positive.
Yeah.
Overall. I'd say like the changes were overall a mixed bag, but the original product was an overall positive thing.
Yeah.
So it's still an overall positive thing as well. Yeah. I'm trying to think.
One thing I remembered that I was going to mention is the fact that they didn't actually use any of the original songs, I don't think.
Well, they didn't have any songs, really.
It's not a musical anymore.
Actually, okay, that was one thing that did bother me, like, at the end, where, like, she gets locked in the room or whatever, and then, while the people come, you know, are doing the thing with the shoe, and she just kind of, like, sits there and sings, and then, like, the mice, like, open the window, and they happen to hear her singing, and it's like, this feels kind of, like, lame.
Yeah, like, she should have opened the window.
Or just, like, show some initiative.
Yeah.
I think it would have made more sense if she was, like, on the other side of the room or something. Or maybe, like, it was one of those cases where she was, like
in a closet, and then the window was outside of the door.
Yeah.
Or, again, like, kind of what I said before, where it's like, you really see where she's just beaten down and broken, and she's just so, like, depressed or whatever, and she's just... Because, like, again, she was...
didn't get to that point
No, she was, like, spinning around dancing and looked kind of happy, and it's like,
Yeah.
Or maybe she's just going insane.
Or no. Maybe her plan was instead of singing them and her plan should have been, if she really wanted to go with the dance route, she should have like tap danced.
Tap dance.
Tap dance
Then
Morse
would-
code.
Tap dance and Morse code.
SOS.
Especially since they want her for her feet, basically, right?
Oh,
yeah,
So she
that's
should show
true.
off the fact she's like, hey, guys, I have feet.
Oh man, when you said that, I was just like, I hope the prince doesn't have a foot fetish. I'm sorry, I ruined the movie. Just
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Or maybe more of a shoe fetish.
he has a shoe.
Oh, that's weirder.
Ugh.
Oh my God.
Ew. Okay.
Anyway.
What a great note to end on.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, the last movie corrupted your brain, Mai.
Oh my god.
True. Fuck.
Okay. This is the last movie I have to announce. This is so weird.
Yeah, you're done forever now.
Oh my god.
I'll be picking up for the last time next
Yep.
time, and
and Mai gets to start with her favorite franchise.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I came to this realization like the other day, and I was like, I think either this one or the sequel after it came out on my birthday. So
Oh, well,
I have
actually,
to check which one it is.
let me see. I'll check right now.
Is it this one?
We're now gonna reveal how old Nian is.
No, not that one. So I guess it's the next one. Eh.
Oh, I thought you meant your actual birthday.
No.
No,
Oh,
neither of them.
no, never mind. Maybe it's neither of them. That's fine.
Maybe it's another one. I don't know. I'll look at it later. But yeah, so
Okay, I lied. Never mind.
so Mai is starting off her final round of announcing with their favorite series of all time.
Fuck.
Thanks.
All right, well, her third favorite series.
Oh yeah.
Her
because-
favorite series we just started, and the second favorite series we ended last year.
Yeah, and
Which do you prefer? The series we ended or the series we started? I think I broke her. Okay, I'll let down. Bye.
No, wait. What if you had Katniss as the main character in 50 Shades of Grey?
I think I would kill myself.
No, then me and Valen get to write on your tombstone. Then
Oh
You
yeah.
can write fuck cat and already on my tombstone.
it all works out. It goes full circle.
And see, literally, then also 50 Shades of Grey is about fucking Katniss Everdeen, so it works perfectly.
We need to end this. Bye.
Disney picture. Okay, bye.